Okay, so you want to own a nightclub. A dark room, a booming sound system, a line of people outside waiting to get in, and bottles of vodka selling for 10 times what you'd pay at a liquor store. You watch the crowd on a Saturday night, hundreds of people packed shoulder to shoulder, cash flowing at the bar non-stop, and you think, this place must print money. Simple. Here's the problem. You are looking at the one night of the week that lies to you the hardest. The truth is that a nightclub is one of the most fragile, high-failure businesses in the entire hospitality industry. And the reason it looks so profitable on a Saturday night is exactly the reason it can quietly go bankrupt within 18 months. Let's start with what it actually costs to open the doors. A serious nightclub typically requires anywhere from $500,000 to $2 million just to build out. Sound and lighting alone, done properly, can run $100,000 to $400,000. A serious nightclub sound system is engineered to fill a specific room shape without blowing out the low end. Then there's the liquor license, which in many major cities is one of the single biggest hidden costs. An existing license can be bought on the private resale market for anywhere from $50,000 to well over $1 million. You are not just paying a government fee, you are buying scarcity itself. A realistic nightclub opening can easily run $1 to $3 million before a single drink is poured. Now, here's the part that catches almost every new owner off guard. Occupancy limits. The fire marshal doesn't care how badly you want 600 people inside your club. A club that looks like it could hold 1,000 people on a packed night might legally be capped at 300 or 400. This single number determines the absolute ceiling on how much revenue your club can generate on its single busiest night of the week. A club is not really in the business of selling drinks one at a time at the bar. The real profit engine is bottle service, and the markup here is almost impossible to believe. A bottle of premium vodka that costs the club maybe $25 to $35 wholesale gets sold to a table for $300 to $800. That is a markup of somewhere between 800 and 2,000%. Compare that to a regular bar drink marked up 300 to 500%, which already sounds aggressive until you put it next to bottle service and realize the bar is actually the cheap option in the building. When a table buys a bottle, they're not just paying for the alcohol. They're paying for a reserved table, a dedicated section of the room, a host who brings sparklers, and, most importantly, visibility. VIP tables and bottle sections are almost always positioned on a slightly raised platform or along the perimeter where the rest of the crowd can see them clearly. That visibility is not a coincidence. It's the entire point. People buying bottle service are, in part, paying to be seen buying bottle service, and that social visibility is worth far more to certain customers than the actual liquid inside the bottle. This is also why door cover charges and promoter economics work the way they do. Many clubs work with promoters whose entire job is to fill the room with the right crowd. Promoters are typically paid a commission on the bottle sales generated by the tables they bring in, sometimes 10 to 20%, plus a flat fee per head for anyone they get through the door. This creates an entire underground economy of relationship-based marketing. where the crowd composition on any given night has been deliberately engineered by promoters competing for the best tables and commission splits. Now, let's talk about what eats into all of this markup. Most of your costs happen on a handful of nights, while your lease, insurance, and staff costs run every single day of the week. Rent in a nightlife district doesn't pause on Monday and Tuesday when almost nobody comes in. Security staff has to be paid, whether the room is at 10% capacity or at its legal maximum. Liability insurance for a nightclub is significantly higher than for almost any other hospitality business, sometimes running tens of thousands of dollars a year, even before a single incident occurs. Then there's DJ and talent booking, which can range from a few $100s for a resident DJ to tens of thousands of dollars for a well-known headliner on a marquee weekend. Clubs often lose money on the headliner night itself once you account for the booking fee, extra security, and extra staffing, and make up for it entirely through the bottle service revenue that name recognition pulls in. The DJ functions less like entertainment and more like an extremely expensive marketing expense designed to guarantee a packed, high-spending room. Here's the seasonal wrinkle that quietly destroys a lot of first-time owners. A nightclub's entire economic model is often built almost entirely around 2 nights a week. If those 2 or 3 nights don't perform, there often isn't enough volume on the other 4 nights to make up the difference, because the whole cost structure exists regardless of which nights are busy. A club that has 1 disappointing month of weekends can go from comfortably profitable to underwater remarkably fast, because there's no slow accumulation of steady daily revenue to smooth things out. This exact fragility is why nightclub ownership has one of the highest failure rates of almost any hospitality business, with a significant share of new clubs closing within their first 2 to 3 years. The ones that survive long-term are almost never the ones that simply had the best sound system. They're the ones that diversified their nights, building strong midweek income through corporate events and private buyouts. To understand how far this cash-heavy dynamic can go wrong, look at one of the most famous nightclubs in history. Studio 54 in New York became one of the most profitable clubs the industry had ever seen at its peak. The club's owners were eventually convicted of skimming enormous amounts of cash directly out of the business before it ever hit the official books, understating income by millions of dollars to avoid paying taxes. Federal investigators eventually caught up with them, and both owners served prison time for tax evasion, and the club itself never fully recovered its original cultural dominance afterward. When a huge share of your nightly revenue arrives as physical cash, the line between aggressive bookkeeping and outright fraud becomes dangerously easy to cross. And nightclubs remain one of the most heavily scrutinized cash businesses for tax auditors to this day. So, does owning a nightclub actually work as a business? The honest answer is yes, but the margin for error is razor thin compared to almost any other business in this genre we've covered. The bottle you're selling for $800 really does cost you $30. But that markup has to cover a lease that never sleeps, insurance that assumes the worst, and a promoter network you're constantly competing to keep loyal. The club isn't selling alcohol. It's selling a room engineered for visibility, rented out 1 bottle at a time, On the handful of nights, people are actually willing to pay for the privilege of being seen inside it. If this kind of breakdown is exactly the sort of thing that fascinates you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We've got some genuinely surprising industries lined up. And drop a comment below. What business should we break down the real economics of next?